Welcome into this weekend's soccer betting show. Now we've made it through another week of Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, and many other competitions going on around the world. So let's get back to some European domestic league soccer this weekend, and let's look at some of the top parlays I've created last week. These parlays went 3-1. So let's jump into this weekend where I've created 4 different parlays. We'll start off with parlay number 1 in the Bundesliga and Serie A on Saturday. Here it's Augsburg and Heidenheim. Now, nearly all Augsburg games see 2 or more goals. In fact, 22 of 24 have seen. So Heidenheim too. They also have seen 2 or more goals often in 20 of their 24 games. It was 5-2 Augsburg in the last meeting with Heidenheim this season. Augsburg had another big scoring day last week, winning 6-0 in Darmstadt. They also won 2-1 the game prior, but that clean sheet was their first in 27 games, so it's rarely something they do. They have scored, though, in 6 of 7, and at home in the Bundesliga, they've scored in 11 of 12. They've scored multiple goals in 3 straight, and in 8 of 12 as well, and both teams to score has gone 11-1 in their recent games. Heidenheim lost 2-1 last week, and they are winless in 3 games, but they still scored in 11 of their past 12, and they're 4-5-2 in those last games. Both teams to score is 8-1, and both teams to score over 2.5 is on a 4-0 run. This game likely looks like it could be another both teams to score, or simply over 1.5. I think we should see goals between these teams. It should be a heated match as well, as they were located less than 100 kilometers apart from each other. Let's go over 1.5 goals in this game. Next up, Bayern Munich and Mainz. Bayern have been having a miserable campaign by their standards, but they did win in the Champions League on Tuesday, and they are still playing a team ranked 17th in Mainz. They won 3-1 in Mainz earlier this season, and now Mainz go on the road where they are 6-6, and they've been outscored 22-10. Mainz have 2 wins all year, and most recently lost 2-1 and 3-1 to Leverkusen and Stuttgart in their last road games. Bayern are 10-1-1 with 39 goals scored, 8 allowed at home in the Bundesliga. They should easily get this win, probably by a couple goals. But for the parlay, just ask Bayern to win the game. And we'll round it out in Serie A, Sassuolo and Frosinone. Now, these are 2 teams way down there in the standings, and you might think, why are we previewing this game? Well, oftentimes when 2 teams are this bad, you can generally see goals. Both should be expecting or hoping to at least try to get a win here against a team in a similar free fall as they are. These are 2 struggling teams at 16th Frosinone, 19th Sassuolo. These teams are 1-2 for the highest total average goals per match in their games at 3.4 for Frosinone and 3.2 for Sassuolo. Now, that's mostly due to those high scoring averages because both teams are just hideous at defending. The 56 goals allowed by Frosinone are the most in Serie A. The 55 from Sassuolo are obviously second most. Frosinone have gone 19-8 to over 2.5. Sassuolo are 16-11 to over 2.5. If we're just looking at 2 goals in a game, Frosinone are 25-2 to over 1.5. Sassuolo 22-5. Back in September, it was 4-2 Frosinone at home. But Frosinone drew 1-1 last week to Lecce and are now winless in 6. And they have just 1 win in 12. Sassuolo's in the same boat. They lost 1-0 last week. They're winless in 8, and they have 1 win in 15. Now, both teams are bad. Both teams are terrible defending. Hopefully, we should see a few goals, at least 1 from each. Let's go both teams to score. Sassuolo and Frosinone, both teams to score. Bayern to win. Augsburg and Heidenheim over 1.5 would come in at plus 135 odds in this parlay. Next up, it's the EPL and La Liga on Saturday and Sunday. We'll start with Crystal Palace and Luton. It's 14th versus 18th here. Now, Palace lost 3-1 in Tottenham last week. They now have just 3 wins in 18 in all competitions, but have scored in 7 straight games and in 6 straight at home in the EPL, and also in 16 of 18 EPL games. In the only recent meeting between these teams, it was 2-1 Luton. That was in Luton back in November. Luton fights in every single game, even though they are way down there in the standings. They now lost 5 straight games, and they're winless in 6 in all competitions. And their last scores have been 3-2, 6-2, 4-1, 2-1, 3-1, 4-4. So both teams to score and over 2.5. That prop would be 6-0. Certainly on the board as a potential for this game as well. Luton have now scored in 10 straight games, even though they're not winning. So there's lots of goals for and against, and there's been 0 road clean sheets kept by Luton Town all year long in the EPL. To me, this looks like both teams to score, simply an over 1.5. Crystal Palace to win, Crystal Palace to score. Palace have 3 players who lead their team with 6 goals. One is Eze, who had been out. He returned last game, and he did score versus Tottenham. That will also help Palace's cause. Like I said, all of those are options. Certainly Palace to win could be a good bet by its own. For this parlay, I just want 1 Palace goal. Next up, Arsenal and Brentford. It's 3rd versus 15th. This matchup has been close. Arsenal won the reverse fixture, but it was just 1-0. Also, they won 1-0 in the Carabao Cup this season, and last year they drew 1-1 in Arsenal. So despite the big discrepancy in talent between these teams, it's not always a walk in the park for Arsenal. Arsenal, though, this season is first in goals for, second in XG, first in XGA, first in XGA, like I said, third in shots, fifth in shots on target, second in shots allowed, first in shots allowed on target, and by a big margin, they've allowed just 59 shots on target. Liverpool is next with 76. Now, they've given up just 4 shots on target as well in their last 5 games, so it's very possible they could keep a clean sheet here at home. Brentford are winless in 4 games. They have just 2 wins in 15. They did hold, though, hold their own versus Manchester City recently, losing just 1-0 on the road. They've also have losses of 4-1 to Liverpool, 3-2 to Tottenham, 2-1 to Villa, 3-0 to Liverpool in another game as well. So they have given up multiple goals against some of the top teams in the league as well. The concern would be in this game, if you're backing Arsenal, is that they do have Porto in the Champions League on Tuesday, and they are already down 1-0. But they also still have a chance to win this EPL title as well, so it's not like they can just rest everybody and focus all their attention on the Champions League, since they are in the title race. So I still expect them to go hard to get the win here. Now, outside of that Porto loss, Arsenal, they had won 5 games prior, and they had won 4-1. And then 6-0 since that Porto loss. In their last 8 games, they're 7-0-1, and they've outscored their opponents by an incredible 31-4. Let's go for an Arsenal win here. And we'll round it out going over to Sunday in La Liga, Real Madrid and Celta Vigo. Madrid are looking like title winners here. They're first with 66 points, 7 points ahead of second place. Celta Vigo are 17th with 24 points. It was just a 1-0 Madrid win back in Celta back in August. Before that, there had been 2 or more goals, and usually more than that in 33 straight games between these teams, going all the way back to 2003. So it's very rare that we don't see at least 2 goals in this matchup. Real Madrid have won 7 straight and 11 of 12 against Celta. Neither have the highest goals per match going on right here, with Real Madrid games averaging 2.7, Vigo's averaging 2.6, both around mid-pack. But 22 of 27 Real Madrid games have seen 2 or more goals. Only 18 of 27 Celta Vigo games have seen 2 or more, and they won 1-0 last week versus Almeria. But prior to that, they drew 2-2, lost 2-1, lost 3-2, and won 3-0. So certainly plenty of their games have been seeing goals. In all competitions on the road, there's been 2 or more goals in 14 of 17 road games for Celta this season. Obviously, this should be a Real Madrid win at home. They are 11-2-0. They've scored 31 goals and allowed just 7 in La Liga this season. In all competitions, they have just 1 loss. That coming in the Copa del Rey in extra time to Atletico Madrid. That's their only loss in their last 32 games. They are coming off, though, a home draw against RB Leipzig in the Champions League. They also drew Valencia 2-2 last week. They have 3 draws in their last 4, and they have scored multiple goals just once in 5. So while I do think certainly you'd get better odds with Madrid to win, Madrid to keep a clean sheet, maybe Madrid to win by 2, all I want is over 1.5 goals to make a very, very simple parlay of Palace to score, Arsenal to win, and Real Madrid and Celta Vigo over 1.5 goals at minus 143. But you could get that better if you just went for a Madrid win, or maybe both teams to score in that Luton Palace game instead if you wanted to up those odds. Number 3 parlay for me this weekend is Frankfurt and Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga. These teams are side by side in the table. Frankfurt being 6th with 37 points, Hoffenheim 7th with 33 points. Now, Eintracht Frankfurt won 3-1 back in October when they last met. Last year, Hoffenheim won 3-1, and Frankfurt won 4-2. Prior to that, score lines between these teams read 2-2, 3-2, 3-1, 2-1, 2-1. So both teams to score, and over 2.5 has now gone a perfect 8-0 between these teams in their recent meetings. And both teams to score alone simply is on a 12-1 run. This season alone, Hoffenheim is the highest both teams to score team with 88% of their games hitting that prop, while Frankfurt are 7th with 62% of their games hitting that prop. For Frankfurt in all competitions, it's hit in each of their last 6, and both teams scored over 2.5 is also 5-0. They won last week 2-1, another one of those high-scoring games. They were playing Heidenheim. Hoffenheim won their last 2 games, 2-1 and 3-2. They've scored in 6 of their last 7, and both teams to score in 6-1 in that time. To me, this has to be goals coming from both sides. We'll go both teams to score. Sticking in Germany, it's Bochum and Freiburg. It's 15th, hosting 9th, but only 5 points separate these teams despite the many spots between them in the table. Plus, the 44 goals allowed by Freiburg are more than the 6 teams six of the teams that are below them right now. So even though they're higher up in the table, even teams that are much lower down have been having better defensive years, and they kept a clean sheet Thursday in the Europa League. But that also gives them a short turnaround time here for Sunday's game, having just been in action on Thursday. Prior to that Europa League win, they had 1 win in 8 in all competitions, and they had allowed 2, and 3 goals in the games prior. There was a 0-0 Europa League draw with Lens before that, and then if we go further back, they had allowed 3, and 2 goals before that as well. So plenty of games where Freiburg are allowing multiple goals. This very easily could be a game that sees goals again, probably goals from both sides. There's been 3 or more goals in Freiburg's games in each of their last 7 in the Bundesliga. And for Bochum, even though they've been blitzed with 9 goals allowed in their last 2 games where they lost 4-1 and 5-2, the both teams to score prop has hit in 6 straight, and they have just 1 win in 6, but they're still scoring goals. They've scored a goal in 8 straight games. They've scored in every single home Bundesliga game this season, all 12. And if you go back into last season, they've now scored in 18 straight Bundesliga games at home. So to me, this likely is goals from both sides. Probably both teams to score in over 2.5. But I'm keeping it super simple, like I like to do, and just going Bochum to score 1 goal at home. If they don't, that would end an 18-game streak. And to round out this parlay, Strasbourg and Monaco. Strasbourg are 12th. 26 points. They're hosting Monaco, 3rd in Ligue with 42 points in France. Monaco was shut out last week, but they were playing PSG, and they still drew. They didn't lose. They drew 0-0. Their 44 goals are second to only PSG's 54, and those are 9 more than the 3rd highest scorers in France right now, that being second-placed Brest. Prior to the PSG game, Monaco had scored in 10 straight in all competitions. They scored multiple goals in 6 of those 10 as well. Strasbourg drew 2-2 last week, and prior to that, they lost in PKs after a 0-0 draw in the Coupe de France. Then before that, they lost 3-0, lost 3-1, and lost 3-1 in the league. They're winless in 7 Ligue games, and they've allowed a goal in 13 straight and also in 17 of 18. Monaco probably is the bet as the winner, but surely they will score. We'll go Monaco to score, and that brings us into plus 130 odds with Monaco to score, Bochum to score, and both teams to score between Frankfurt and Hoffenheim. And I have one more parlay, all in England for the EPL, and it's on Sunday. 2 games that should hopefully look like goals. Certainly looks like goals on paper. Starting off in the morning, it's Aston Villa and Tottenham. It's a top 5 clash between 4th place Villa, 55 points, and 5th Tottenham with 50 points. It was 2-1 Aston Villa in November in a game, and in-game prior to last season. Now, it's not always both teams to score, but it has been 2 or more goals between these teams in 12 straight. But this season, Tottenham has seen both teams to score games hitting at 81% of their matches. Aston Villa have seen the 4th most, with 70% of their games going both teams to score. Now, only Newcastle have their games see more average goals in their matches than either of these teams. Newcastle's games average 3.8, then Tottenham and Aston Villa are right behind. Their games average 3.6 goals per game. Villa played in the Conference League on Thursday. Now, prior, they won 3-2, 4-2, and 2-1 in the EPL. They lost 2-1, 3-1, won 5-1, and lost 3-1 prior to that. So as you can see, plenty of goals in Villa's games as late. Same can certainly be said for Tottenham. It's been the case all season. They have a 3-1 win, a 2-1 loss, a 2-1 win, a 2-2 draw, and a 3-2 win in recent games. Tottenham scored in 28 of 29, all in all competitions this season. Meanwhile, Aston Villa has a streak of 34 straight home games where they've scored. Anything other than goals in this game would be a shocker. Certainly, both teams to score over 2.5 is an option for this parlay. Just both teams to score is good enough for me. And then it's the biggest game in Europe this weekend, maybe this season. It's Liverpool and Man City. This is, like I said, probably the biggest game going on. It sees Liverpool first in EPL with 63 points, hosting Man City second, 62 points. Definitely title implications on the line here. You'd expect goals, though both are also top 3 in goals against and also in XGA and shots on target allowed. It was 1-1 in November in Manchester, and the last game played in Liverpool was just a 1-0 Liverpool win. So you can see that these teams have been good for a while, but there are still some low-scoring games in there sometimes. But in between those 2 results that I just talked about, there was 2 City wins in Manchester by scores of 4-1 and 3-2. So again, also these teams are capable of putting up plenty of goals. If we look at a little further back, both teams' score bets have gone 9-1 in the last 10, and there's been 2 or more goals in 13 of the last 14 head-to-heads. Only Arsenal has scored more than these 2 teams, so while we've talked about the defensive stats of them, they are also top scoring teams as well. Liverpool is second in scoring with 64 goals. City is third with 62. Now, sometimes when you see these big title contending teams going together, you assume goals. Sometimes they are a little tighter matches as the teams feel each other out, but I do think that we have too much talent between these two teams to not at least see one goal from both, so I'll do both teams to score there. So we can go Villa and Tottenham, both teams to score, with Liverpool and City, both teams to score. Nice and simple. Cheer for a goal coming from all four of those teams, and you can come in right at even money at plus 100 odds. Those are my 4 soccer parlays for this weekend. 11 games across 5 different leagues. Now see the end screen at the end of this video for a recap of the picks. Be sure to leave your picks down there in the comments, and good luck with all of your soccer bets this weekend.